What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones, and AJ. We are here for another edition of our Three Things post-game podcast, and we're here following Carolina's 87-72 win over Arkansas in the Bahamas. Carolina improving to 5-1 on the season, 2-1 in the Bahamas over the last few days, with wins coming over Northern Iowa and obviously Arkansas today. Real quickly, AJ, we run through some stats. RJ Davis, 30 points. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Harrison Ingram, 13 points, 10 boards, 6 assists. And Seth Trimble with 12 points and 4 rebounds. Now, it's a little bit different of a setup for us because you're usually on site when and if we do these, and you're sitting in your office right now, AJ. So what's the deal with that, man?
Well, my family hates this because, I have to work and cover a game from home, which is bizarre. I think they prefer I'm gone for one thing, but then it also puts them on pins and needles. They can't make noise and that kind of thing. Well, they can. They just can't leave. They got to leave me alone. Got to keep the dogs out of here and stuff. Yeah. But every year, this time of year, if there's ever a conflict with covering football and basketball, I always choose football because it's the NC State game. Got to close the deal on the football season. And especially if it's a situation where I wouldn't be able to get back. If I covered the games in the Bahamas, there's no flight that would get me back to like tomorrow night. So I'd miss the football game. So I had to choose to be here. Now, next year they're in Maui. I may go ahead and go to Maui because that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'd be back in time for the game. But these are the only games. These are the only games I won't be at in person. We do have representation. We have 2 people there from THI. And they're filing stuff, and we're still filing stuff as well. So it's a little awkward. It's kind of weird covering something from home, but the last 3 days I've been doing it. It's I'm wearing shorts today, so I would never do that at a game. So everything's out of kilter, but we still were able to get the job done. We got a lot of good stuff coming, and Trey is getting the videos up on site in the Bahamas right now.
Yep, doing a good job down there. Shout out Trey for covering us down there. But AJ, we'll go ahead and dive into this. We got a few things to talk about in this one, as we always do. And I think we have to start with RJ Davis. I mean, he was the guy today for North Carolina. So big down the stretch as well. 30 points, 9 for 18 from the floor, 10 from 10 from the free throw line as well. Scored 53 points over the last 2 days. So just some big time games from him. And again, I said he hit some big time shots in the second half as well to kind of get this Carolina team going a little bit when it was tight, because this was a back and forth game. I know it's a 15-point win for Carolina. It was a back and forth game. It was a tight game for a lot of it, really to the last few minutes of it when Carolina was able to pull away. So a hard fought victory today for North Carolina. And again, man, RJ Davis really, really good at basketball, isn't it?
He scored 2 buckets that were acrobatic. It was the first one was I learned a long time ago at basketball camp, like in 5th grade. Get the ball up there. If you're getting fouled, get it up to the rim. It could fall through the rim, and that one did. The other one, he was able to kiss it off the glass, I believe, and it went in as well. So he's able to score and get the +1 on those. He had 21 points in the second half.
I know, he's big time.
And he was huge in the run. Yeah, they scored 42 points in a 14-minute stretch in the second half, and he had 16 of them, I think. He had 16 of those points. So he was fantastic. He was a dog. It reminded me a little bit of the Baylor game in the NCAA tournament, which is, by the way, his other 30-point game in his career, where Brady was ejected. There was all kinds of foul trouble. He's out there on the floor in the overtime, and he's got Styles and McCoy out there with him. And RJ just said, "This is mine. I got to do this." And there was a little bit of that in him today. And I think it's a great sign. We've seen through the first 6 games, and I know Armando struggled in the Bahamas, but Armando was awesome, and they ran through him a lot the first few games. So they got that taste. Now they got a taste of RJ being a dog, and they've already seen what Ingram can do, the variances to his game, what he can do. And on top of that, they've had different bench guys step up in the different games. So they needed RJ to be the next guy to sort of do RJ doing RJ things, right? And he's done that the last couple of days. He did it at his personal highest level so far as a collegian today, and it was big. I don't think this team always showed great confidence on the floor. I thought that there were some times where it looked like things weren't going great, and they were sort of searching around, looking around a little bit, because they're still in that hodgepodge mode where all the pieces are trying to come together. And they were at a moment like yesterday where they needed a dude to be a dude and step up. And RJ was that guy. And RJ's been in that situation before for Carolina. He's come through before for Carolina, and he did that today. So I thought that was tremendous growth. And it was a really good win. I mean, Arkansas could beat Duke next week when they play them. Maybe they won't, and they'll be 4-4. But Arkansas is going to be in the tournament. Arkansas is going to be a problem in the SEC. It's a good team. Get some early losses. They'll be fine, especially if Mark gets healthy, and hopefully he is. Yeah. So this is a good win. Mm-hmm. This is a better non-conference win than Carolina had all last year. So they've got one now. They've got one that will help them come selection time. I doubt we're going to have to wonder what the heck Arkansas is doing if it can get into the top. I guess this would be top 50 because a quad one win. They need to be in the top 50. I doubt they're going to be dangling in that 50 area. They'll probably be in the 20s, mid-20s by the time the late February comes. So Carolina got themselves a good non-conference win today. And RJ Davis was the dude who led them to the winner's circle.
Yeah, he's big time, man. Definitely don't want to have to be figuring out who can beat who to get Carolina in the tournament in February. We don't want to do that again. That wasn't fun.
I hated that last year.
It sucks, man. Well, it sucks.
I'm sitting there watching Ohio State basketball on a Thursday night. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with my life? Why am I doing this? I don't want to. I hope Arkansas wins games. Just not that I root or anyone. Sometimes I root for myself, right? Like I don't root for anybody in these games, but sometimes I root for myself. And maybe I might want a Thursday night in late February where I can spend time with my daughter and watch her bee swarm simulator or whatever it is on TV instead of a game.
Hey, man, it's better than watching Ohio State. I'll tell you, in the middle of February, I'll tell you that for free. Yeah, it's brutal.
Ohio State was bad last year. It was bad.
Yeah, I know. It really was. We're not looking forward to. Hopefully that won't happen again this year. The way Carolina's playing, I don't think it will, but still early on, and we have a lot of basketball left and a lot of things to talk about left in this one too, AJ, because I want to move on to, you already mentioned Armando Bacot. I'm going to tie kind of Harrison Ingram and Armando Bacot into the second thing here, because we've seen, it's been they've kind of been opposites over the last two games in some ways. I know Harrison Ingram, again, 13 points, 10 boards, 6 assists today, had 20 points yesterday, so 33 points over the last two games. Armando Bacot, a guy that's been quiet over the last two games. And had a big rebound game yesterday, points-wise, did not have double-digit scoring. And then today struggled a little bit. I know foul trouble along with RJ Davis in the first half played a little bit of a factor why he didn't play as much. I did see David tweet something out, and I don't have it in front of me, but he did say, although Armando didn't necessarily play well today, Carolina played better when he was in the game for large stretches of it. You can find it on David's Twitter. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of that. But again, Armando, just to go in depth on him a little bit more, just 10 to 27 in the Bahamas, just 27 points, 30 rebounds total, but only 4 today, 18 of those coming yesterday. So again, we've seen how effective Harrison Ingram's been for this team. I think a lot of Carolina fans are kind of fastly falling in love with the type of player Ingram is and what he's doing for this team. And again, Armando's struggling a little bit, but the fact that Carolina was able to win today without Armando playing well and Cormac Ryan not even playing, I think is a big time positive for this team. But those are kind of two guys over the last couple of games that just on a little bit of opposite ends of the spectrum right now.
Yeah, let me hit on Armando first. And I think I haven't talked to David. I didn't see his tweet. I'll talk to him. Like David and I are probably going to try to do a podcast on Sunday about basketball. Stuff. It's our first in-season one that two of us have done together. And I love getting his take on things. But I imagine part of what he sees the game as a coach. And he's probably thinking, okay, a lot of those driving lanes that Carolina had in the second half, a lot of that was, if it wasn't in transition, Armando was allowing that space. I mean, he has to be covered. If you noticed a couple of times when he would pick and roll, like Arkansas had to cover him. They covered him the whole time. They just didn't wait for him to get down the block because he's quicker now. And you saw some signs of that. They had to cover him, and it opened up immediate driving lanes a few times. They didn't always get to the rim, but there were some of those kickouts. The other thing is I thought defensively he challenged some stuff around the rim. Arkansas didn't get a lot of stuff near the rim in the second half unless there was a breakdown. There was one time when Jimmy Dykes was a little bit critical of Armando, but that was just that one time. I thought he was pretty solid down there, and he didn't do a whole lot of things to hurt them. He does fade sometimes on like that jump hook on the right baseline when he faded. He doesn't need to fade. He needs to go straight up. He could absorb the contact. But I got to tell you, too, and I'm not an officials guy. My dad reffed a long time ago, and he was an umpire. And I learned back then that officials don't cost you a game. Umpires don't cost you a game because ultimately you didn't play perfect. So you could find other areas you could have played better, right? However, Armando had to absorb a lot of contact in a week where the officials were whistle happy. I found it fascinating how much contact Armando had to play for. So to his credit, and he mouthed a little bit today, and I don't blame him, but to his credit, it didn't take him out of his game. I thought maybe yesterday even with all the rebounds, offensively, he was flustered some. Today, he wasn't. Today, he just appeared, okay, this is the way this game is going. If I get some looks, I get some looks, but we've got a lot of other stuff working, and this is our RJ doing RJ things, and this is Harrison Ingram scoring for himself or opening up for other people. He had 6 assists today, and other guys were able to contribute. Jalen Washington gave him good minutes off the bench in place of Armando. I thought that Trimble was fantastic off the bench. Wojcik gave them some good minutes off the bench. They only went 8 deep today because High didn't play and Ryan wasn't available. Okonkwo didn't play. So we saw Hubert tighten up a little bit. So, but Armando needs to finish better. He needs to explore more. He had a dunk against Villanova yesterday in a half-court situation where he exploded the rim. He's got to do that more. He's not super explosive, but he's got to explode a little bit more and finish around the rim a little bit better. As far as Ingram goes, his vision is insane.
Oh, yeah.
His ability to get into the lane and just, you can see how defenses are starting to stress when he does that, because now they're all going to know that he found Trimble not once, but twice. The second pass, he was a little bit closer, but he sucked in the defense. Teams are laying off Trimble. They did it all year last year. They've done it so far this year, but he's got 4 3-pointers in his career. 2 of them were today, and they were pretty shots. And I've seen him shoot around after some games, and I've seen him shoot around some even before game, way before anybody else was out there. He has worked his you-know-what off on his shot, and you noticed it at the free throw line, where he's been a little bit cleaner at the free throw line. It's been a prettier shot, a prettier release. Those 2 threes he took look like a guy who shoots them all time.
Yeah, confident.
And he shot him with confidence. He knocked him down. And again, the kinds of variety that Carolina has coming off the bench is huge, because he fit more in this game in some ways than maybe he would have yesterday because of the kind of game that it was. Yeah. Arkansas wants to get up and down and race, and they want to bounce around, and that totally fits Trimble. But I thought that, and Trimble had another opportunity to score at the rim too. In a beautiful cut. He had a couple really nice cuts where he got the ball. He makes himself available and his teammates find him. So this is twice in double figures for him now through 6 games. And that's huge moving forward, because this time a year ago, when people were wondering about the bench wasn't doing a whole lot in early games to develop confidence, and their playing time diminished. If you look at it now, Jalen Washington has had several really nice performances. Wojcik was a starter now coming off the bench. He's okay with it, and he had some good stuff today. Even as distant as Zayden High is on the bench, he's done positive things when he's come in. So these guys are coming off the bench and they're contributing. And the 2 dudes that were there a year ago, I mean, I think Jalen needs more playing time. I thought there were times yesterday he should have gotten more, especially when they badly needed scoring. And he's a guy that I thought Villanova would have a tough time defending because of his length, and he can shoot that mid-range jumper. And he gave him good minutes today. So if Jalen's a 15 to 18-minute guy in a given game, he's going to give you 6 to 8 points. He's going to give you 5 or 6 rebounds, and he drew 4 fouls today.
Yep,
he drew 4 fouls on Arkansas.
3 and 1s or something like that. He was big.
Yeah, a couple and 1s, and he went to the line. He was 4 for 7 from the line. Finished with 6 points, so he gave them good minutes. And that's another thing. I think Armando, when he gets used to other guys contributing, especially someone like Washington or Withers, I thought a couple times he was playing the 5 and he did a solid job, especially defensively. It's going to relax Armando. He's not going to feel like he has to do so much. And I think when Armando starts to play within his game, we'll see a higher level of efficiency from him.
Yeah, no doubt.
And Ingram, by the way, 13 points, 6 assists. He's got eyes in the back of his head. He's got
10 rebounds.
I was saying the other day, again, so in the last 3 games, he's gone 9, 3 of the last 4 games, 9, 10, and 10. I can't remember what he got against Northern Iowa, but so he's getting those rebounds. He's doing some of the things he said that we would see more of at Carolina than we did at Stanford. And I love his game. He's got a combination old man, like a late 80s, early 90s NBA
he does
game.
Play like that.
But he's got some 2023 chops as well. So he's a fun guy to watch. And I think we're just going to see more and more evolve from him in his game as he gets more comfortable with the other guys.
Yeah, I love how you said he's got a little throwback game, because I've been trying to pinpoint what it is about Ingram that I find different, because there is something different to the way he moves and the way he plays in his game. And I think you hit the nail on the head right there. But he's definitely got some 2023 in there too.
I think David Siskman has said there's a little bit of Barkley in his game.
Yeah, it's
and if you can, I watched Charles play back in the day, and I remember that. And he used to back guys in. He used to use his thickness to generate some separation. Harrison does some of that. He's not Barkley, fortunately. Barkley's he was always kind of he would have been fun to cover back in the day, I'm sure. He was a damn quote machine, but I like Harrison's game, and it's going to get better the more he gets comfortable playing with the other guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's been good, and again, like you said, Trimble. I'm glad you mentioned Trimble as well. It's doing it against some bigger opponents too should give him a lot more confidence, not only in himself but Hubert and the rest of the team giving him confidence, because he's been pretty good so far early this season. So last thing, what this means, I know we've kind of talked about a few things already. For me, again, it's winning relatively big. You end up winning by 15 points. Again, it was a tight game, but winning by 15 without the likes of Cormac Ryan even playing and Armando Bacot not really doing a lot for you. Your fifth year big down there, who's one of not your best players on the team. Carolina still finding a way to win. Obviously, RJ being big time in that as well. Leaving the Bahamas 2-1. I know the Villanova game left a little bit of a bad taste in some fans' mouth, and I'm sure the players and coaches' mouth as well, with the way it went down and some of the refereeing and whatnot. But again, 2-1, leaving the Bahamas, picking up a victory over Arkansas, another hard-fought victory over Northern Iowa as well, with Tennessee coming up next Wednesday in Chapel Hill. It doesn't get any easier for the Tar Heels. I think Carolina will be going back on the plane feeling pretty good. They won't be completely satisfied because of that loss to Villanova. They probably think they could have won this tournament. I think they definitely could have. But 2-1 wins over some good teams. I think you'll take that back to Chapel Hill and build on it, especially with how new this team is.
Well, nobody's going undefeated, so you get losses. Yeah. There's no shame in losing in overtime to Villanova. I think that they should be quite pleased, because some of the things that we wanted to see from this club, especially when they started playing quality teams, we've seen. They push back.
Yeah.
They didn't get dragged into an alley and then call for mama. They clawed
we
their
saw
way
that last year,
and they got out. Yeah, in a sense, they fought out. I love the way Cormac Ryan in the game yesterday is making all the calls to the officials. He's doing it on the bench today. And Trey and Mark said that he looked fine walking, and he wasn't wearing anything on his ankle, so that's a good sign. Perhaps he could play Tuesday night. I like the lunch pail element to this team, and the new guys bring it. Withers brings it. Ingram brings it. Ryan brings it. Trimble plays with it. I think we've seen a little bit more of that from Jalen Washington. Armando does that stuff, but I think people have such high expectations for him that if he's not playing to their standard, they're just going to wonder what's wrong with him. Some people even asked today, I got a text from somebody saying, why don't they just bench Armando for Jalen? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
you got to look at all the good things that he's doing out there. His if he does play in the NBA, his game's not going to be about going for 20 and 15 in the league. It's going to be about doing a lot of the other things, and that's what David was talking about. He did some of those other things today. And RJ's a dog. He's a baller. He's a dog. I think Wojcik's got that in him too. So I think 5-1 after 6 games. They played 2 really difficult opponents the last 2 days that I think Villanova in particular kind of challenged Carolina in a way that Carolina hasn't always responded to. And they're going to go back saying, okay, we made progress. We've grown. They've had Armando be huge at times, Ingram be huge at times, RJ be huge at times, other dudes step up and give them really healthy stretches. So a lot of the things that we thought was possible with this team would possibly be the way things shake out. We have seen a lot of that so far. They have depth. They have guys that can help off the bench. Anybody who gets on the floor plays with tremendous confidence off the bench. There's no hot potato out there. Somebody gets the ball and the guy get rid of it as quickly as possible. There's none of that. They defend. I think the communication is going to get better and better and better. And it's just a matter of how Hubert ultimately decides they want to play. You can adjust your style of play as you go on through the season. I think fewer set plays is better for this team, because I think the faster they play, the more their skill sets come out. I think when they're told to run a lot of sets, and they did a lot yesterday, ran a lot of sets yesterday, I think sometimes it squashes their instincts and their basketball skills and their ability and their smarts and veteran experience of playing off of one another. When they play off each other and they find each other and they move, they're better. They've got a ton of basketball IQ, and they've got the skills and the physical attributes to go with it. So I think the more they play like that, the better they are, not just in transition, but I'm talking about being quicker in the half court. Don't pull back. Yesterday they were in a secondary break, and Hubert called a play, and they had to pull back and ran a play. They didn't score. And this is part of Hubert's growth as a coach. A lot of people expect him to be Roy and Dean, and he's not. And if he ever becomes that, it's going to be a while, because it took them a long time to become Roy and Dean. So he needs to grow and learn, and he's going to learn through games like this, and 3 games in 3 days against quality competition. He didn't call as many sets today, Jacob.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing. But some of that's just the way the game was, because Arkansas tends to speed you up a little bit. But I like that. So I think Carolina flies back 5-1, got an opportunity to go 6-1, pick up a great win this week. Then they got FSU at home. FSU's much improved. They're going to be an issue. And then they go to play UConn in Madison Square Garden before there's a 10-day break. This is a hugely important stretch for this team coming up. It's important that they get these wins, or at least win a couple of these games, so they can enhance that resume and gain confidence. And it's also important that they play these games in a manner that they develop and improve.
Yep.
Sometimes you could play a game, it's a wasted 40 minutes. You don't really develop and improve. I thought they got 125 minutes of development this week in the Bahamas. I thought all of this stuff was about development. There was no wasted moments on the floor. And if they get 120 minutes in these next 3 that way, then when they have that little bit of break for exams, I think that they're going to come out of it a pretty darn good basketball team, ready for the next wave of the season.
No, I think you
and I think this, and let me finish. I'm sorry. I think the last 3 days is a nice little springboard to that. They're not launching into it, but they did a lot of good stuff. And by the way, that's all 5 wins now. They've had huge second half runs. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. We'll know a lot more about this team after the December 5th, that tough stretch coming up, like you mentioned, AJ, 7th ranked Tennessee, Florida State, and then UConn, 5th ranked UConn on December 5th. Like I said, it does not get any easier for this Carolina basketball team, but that's what you want this time of year, especially with Neil deGrasse. You want to see what these guys are made of, see how they play against, better opponents, because you can definitely go and walk into ACC season if you don't play anybody, kind of with a false sense of confidence, maybe, that, if you're playing all these easy opponents. So I think Carolina's schedule sets up well for them. And again, we'll know a heck of a lot more about this team over the next few weeks. So looking forward to it.
The great slogan of Faber College and Animal House is knowledge is good. So I'll leave you with that.
I love it.
You ain't going to get much. If they were to go play Charleston Southern 8 times in the next 3 weeks, they wouldn't get a whole lot of knowledge at this point. No. These games are about knowledge, and knowledge is good.
I like that.
Faber College and Animal House always seeps its way into society. Does it everyday life every once in a while.
Man, it's a classic movie too. It's one of the best. Not gonna lie to you. I need to rewatch that movie. It's been a while.
Knowledge is good.
I used to have the shirt that John Belushi used to wear, the college shirt across the chest. I used to have that one. That was a classic. I bought that at Target when I was like 12 years old. I don't think I have it anymore, obviously, but I used to wear that thing all the time. Thought it was a fantastic shirt. So I don't know how we ended up talking about
Tarski has no grade point average.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. I'm gonna rewatch that movie soon. I'm glad you brought that up. I did not expect we'd talk about Animal House in this 3 Things edition, but again, we always end up talking about something different, that feels like. So we'll go ahead and get the heck out of here, AJ. We'll be back tomorrow night. Carolina, big football game, as you guys know, against NC State. We'll be doing our 3 Things on the field at Carter Finley at God knows what time of the morning, probably 1:15, something like that. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a long night tomorrow, but again, be a fun one as well. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Another edition of our 3 Things post game podcast. If you're feeling good about Carolina and feeling good about the win today, go ahead and like this video below, and let's see how many likes we can run up on this one. Keep it locked to TarLillustrated.com as well for all your coverage, not only from the Bahamas and from today's game, but from Carter Finley tomorrow night, as a Carolina football program listed in the regular season on a high note. Appreciate y'all watching as always, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.